Everybody who is tuning into this live or afterwards. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. And I'm here today with Katie Lund. She is a TFC pro. She's a graduate of the Foot Nerd program. And she's also solves a unique issue, I think, around BeLenka, which is a shoe brand out of where?
Slovakia.
Yes, Slovakia. That's far away from the United States. And so she's in Taos, New Mexico at the moment, but I think she is a distributor for this brand in the United States. So wanted to talk to her because for the natural footwear tent in our Kajabi TFC community, it's helpful to know that there are valuable resources like this around us. And so you can reach out to an actual person to get your questions answered, to get information, to get shoes if you like these products that she carries. And so we're going to spend about a half an hour going through a little bit about Katie's background so you can get to know her a little bit better. And then we're going to jump into the shoes from her showroom. And then we're going to, and then what we also wanted to do is to open the floor for questions and answers around the shoe, specific to shoes or specific to any natural footwear issues you're dealing with. And we want to keep this as a possibility going forward to jump on, to answer your questions, to record in case other people can benefit from the answers to those questions and just be a resource to you all. So we're going to dig in. And Katie, why don't we start by you telling us, give us a little bit about your background. Like, how did you find TFC, your journey to becoming a TFC pro, and then a little bit about what you're doing and how you're putting all of these pieces together to help people in person, online, and to solve some natural footwear problems by carrying shoes and selling shoes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'll start with the first part, and then after that, you'll have to keep.
I'll ask you. Yeah, I'll cue you, Katie. I'll cue you.
Okay, great. How did I find TFC? I think was the first thing you asked, and I got really into the foot in my studies in like 2018. I did a movement specialist series where I became a certified movement specialist. And they introduced the foot as like, something that we don't talk about. I work in physical therapy. And so very like low training on the foot as far as PT is concerned for the most part. And so just from like learning more about that, of course, like then I'm on Instagram and like seeing all the things happening with the foot on Instagram, and the Foot Collective is like one of the main things that comes up. And that's how I found you guys probably in like 2019. Maybe 2018. Yeah, and then COVID happened, and that's when I was able to do the whole Foot Nerd program, which was fun and exciting. And I just love the community that the Foot Collective is. And yeah. What's next?
And so you have gone through, like, you've been through all the iterations of like, or the evolution of where TFC is. So, yeah. I mean, well, we probably have, like, we have the Foot Nerd program that was the beginning of Nick's sort of brainchild about education. And so you finished that year-long program, and then you were one of the few of, like, I guess we have 200 Foot Nerds worldwide, approximately. And you're one of the ones who have stayed connected and found your way into you figured out the technology and you figured out the maze of how to stay connected. You're one of, like, I would say, like, one of 50 people who have actually been able to do that. So I do realize, like, it's been a little bit of a maze, and probably, so anyway, you then found your way into the Kajabi community, and then you became a TFC pro. So for those of you that don't know, we're building a directory of what we call the Foot Collective Pros so that we can refer our community, people who have questions and need one-on-one guidance, like maybe switching to natural shoes. Switching to natural shoes isn't the only thing that we need in order to take care of our foot health, right? So for some of us, that's a more complicated journey than for others. And so we realize that we need lots of professional people that are aligned with, like, what foot health means to us as a community. So those are things like getting out of chairs more frequently, checking in, like how are hips and knees doing? How is our foot strength, our mobility? And we align on a certain set of values that the body will heal itself given the right inputs, right? So first principles thinking. And that being said, like tactically and practically speaking, we try to like wean people out of their orthotics rather than putting people into orthotics, get people's whole bodies moving. And so there's a whole set of criteria that we align on as Foot Collective professionals, and that number of people is growing. So I think in Kajabi we have about maybe 90 people now who are like some type of practitioner, whether it's physical therapist, a podiatrist, personal trainers. That number is growing. So you found your way into that community and now you're here with us. So I just told your whole story so you don't have to do it. Because essentially that's what happened, right?
It is what happened. Yeah. Good job.
And now I get the luxury of like getting to work with you on a regular basis. And then I'm finding out more about you as we go along too. So a lot of times because we have our relationships online, like you don't know all the pieces like each practitioner has in their toolbox. And there's a lot of stuff that you do. So I guess my question now would be like, can you just summarize for us like your work in person that you do? And then your work online that you do, which you have told me that you want to do more of. So there are plenty of people who need help. And I want to try to pair people up with people online who can help. And we're trying to do that more. So let's go there.
Okay. Yeah. So like my 9-to-5 job is working in physical therapy, and that's what I've done for a long time. And that's just more traditional physical therapy. However, I veer on the edge because I am a foot nerd. And like everything comes back to the feet. That's what I'm usually doing with most of my life. And then when all my free time is spent like doing this whole movement coaching, as I've come to like call it. And that's where like my movement specialist stuff comes through, where I don't need to be standing in a room with somebody, because we want to like see how people move. And so it's very easy to do this virtually and just cue people and say, or they send me a video of themselves walking, which is huge because I'm going to do that in a clinic anyway. I'm going to record it on a phone and I'm going to slow it down and look at it. So if somebody could just email it to me, it's even easier that way, really. And yeah, so that's what I do outside of my regular job, is working with clients virtually. And there have been like specifically a person recently from TFC that went into the Explorer, the Trek, and had some downfalls and didn't know what to do. And so I've been talking to her and trying to figure out like what happened along the way. Because most people, I mean, at least from like a clinical standpoint, a lot of people cannot just go straight into like a Vivo barefoot or even like a BeLenka.
Sure.
It's hard, especially with like depending on where you live. If you're in a city, like that's going to be pretty rough on your foot.
Yeah. And I think we're finding more of this too, right? Where like it's a simple process, but it's not an easy one. And we've been talking, I mean, I've been talking to more people who are like, I have a higher ed degree in kinesiology, and it's taken me 3 years to figure out my own personal journey with natural footwear and how to wear them and not be in pain and be injury free. So I think it's not complicated, but it is specific to each person.
Yeah, totally.
And while some people can, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was
just going to say, well, no, you.
Okay,
it's rare.
It's rare to have a foot that is just ready to go. You know, like most people are going to have something somewhere, or somewhere between like the foot and the hip or the pelvic floor, or whatever the issue, you know, core instability goes down into the feet. So it's rare that you're going to see somebody just like, I'm just going to transition real quick. Well, I'll be fine. Who's not 18 years old.
Right, because 18-year-olds aren't sitting usually, although they are more now with school and stuff, but like usually 18-year-old bodies bounce back. But if we're sitting more than 2 to 3 hours a day and not moving regularly and often throughout the day, you're going to run into more like we can't just address the feet. Like one of the things I always loved about the Foot Nerd program was we say that a foot conversation is a whole body conversation. And I think that's one of the things I've noticed is that we have accidentally, I think, overgeneralized and just become really only focused on feet when you have to really address like what's going on in the hips and the pelvic floor in order to have healthy feet, in order to have like good gait movement and all the stuff that we want to talk about and that we want to move freely. You kind of have to address more than the feet. But this chair sitting and the shoes are like the simplest fixes. But I think then we've confused that with the only fixes or the only things. So people get into a pair of natural shoes and they think that everything is supposed to be fixed from that, but there's more nuance to that. So let's
Right.
yeah, so all that being said, one thing that I love about you that isn't true for a lot of pros is that you really like working virtually. So I want to encourage people to utilize your resources because um, I mean, I know you really well, and I know that the work that you do because I've referred people to you and such like that. So I know that there are other people, but I know you because we have a relationship. And if there are other TFC pros, who love working virtually as well, let me know and we can refer people to you also. But I think that's one thing is like most people want to get to work in person, but we still need people that need help all over that can't find help. So that's what I appreciate about you wanting to, enjoying working online with people and finding it easy because not very many people like that part who are pros.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they've been like taught in a clinical setting, then I think people just get really comfortable with that. Like my coworkers during COVID were very uncomfortable doing telehealth because they're
Mhm.
like, well, what do I do? It's like, I need to use my hands. Like, you don't. I need to use my eyes. And that's where I've
Mhm.
been trained the most. Yes, I can do things with my hands too, but we don't need to. And I can teach you how to do them too, and it
Yes.
empowers people to show them that they can do this all on their own. Like I am simply like eyes and a coach, and that's it, really. I can tell
Mhm.
you what I see, and then you're going to do all the work.
That's right. I mean, and that's right. That's like, and that is another, that's kind of like a little bit of going back to like our sort of criteria or our mission, right, is to empower people to get into their bodies, to not export or outsource their health to us as professionals, but to like take the coaching and then embody it themselves. And so feeling what it feels like and then making the corrections. And then suddenly there's a formula for you to do it yourself, right?
Right. Totally. Yeah. That's why I love being virtual, because it takes me out of the equation and someone just like relying on one person every week to fix them.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what people do. They're so exhausted from their busy lifestyles and maybe like lack of solution or lack of progress that they just want to be either touched and manipulated and fixed and then not have to think about it,
Right.
right? But
Right.
it doesn't work
Exactly.
like that.
And
In
it
case you
doesn't.
didn't know, people, it doesn't work like that.
Too bad.
So let's jump. I know. Let's jump into shoes.
Okay. Great. Here they
So
are.
what? Yeah. So okay. So that's my next question. So I'm impressed because how did you then decide? Because you carry and distribute, and you like, how does the whole BeLenka work, and why did you get into it, and why that brand?
Great questions. Well, so I have a store online where I would,
Mhm.
sell toe spacers and foot health kits and socks and all that. Um, and I guess I was one of few people who, like in the US, doing something like that. And so BeLenka actually reached out to me and asked if I would want to carry their shoes. I had already been wearing them, and so I, of course, was like, yes. And I love shoes. Who doesn't? Um, and so I was like familiar with the brand. I already, like years ago, I used to work in shoes. I mean, in a shoe store selling like running shoes. So it's
You
like always
did?
been a thing for me that like I love
Interesting.
shoes and
Mhm.
I love putting people in the right shoe. Um, so, but about BeLenka, so this was like the original one that I had years ago. It's probably like 5 years old now. And
Mhm.
it's actually pretty narrow. It's kind of like similar to Vivo Barefoot with that like quick drop over here.
Yeah. So like somebody
And
with a tailor's bunion might not do well with that, right?
right. And someone with like a low volume, I mean, a high volume foot is not going to do well in this shoe either. And
Mm-hmm.
so that was like my issue with them originally. But then I talked to them and turns out they're like so much different. Like they had changed a lot about their shoes where it's like, it's just more, it's more like most people's feet. And even if it's not, it's still going to probably accommodate that foot.
Mm-hmm.
They're like super wide, and I have like a pretty narrow foot, but I have like a boxy forefoot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I forget what exactly that shape is
Like a
called.
square or a plateau.
Square, yeah. Yeah,
Square.
and that's more accommodating to this. And so I
Yeah.
just find that a lot of foot shapes can take this shoe pretty well. And that's
And
why
just for people
I like it.
listening, what we'll list all of the models that you carry, or you'll give them resources, right? So if you're
Yeah.
watching or listening to this and like she picked up that shoe and I was like, that's cute. What is that? So we will make sure and give you all the details about the shoes and where to go to find what you're carrying, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So what's next then?
I don't know.
Now I'm shoe shopping. Oh no. Okay. I'm like, what's that
Oh,
behind there?
over
No,
here.
no, no. Wait. So so essentially, and I guess this would probably be an avenue for people who wanted to do what you do too, right? Like for people that are wanting to switch to a career or work more in natural shoe industry, like that's a pretty cool thing. If you have a brand, like I know there's one of our people, Maria T, she loves, is it right, Maria? One of our people loves a Hinsa,
Mm-hmm.
loves that brand. And like as much as she loves it, she could probably do maybe what you do, or like you could reach out and be doing, you too could be a shoepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Love it.
Did I just make that up? Because if I did,
I
it's
hope
good.
so. I hope you just made that up right this second.
Yeah. I'll Google it afterwards. But yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that's really cool that you have created this whole little business for yourself, because I don't know why people wouldn't want to do more of that. And there isn't a lot of people who are selling shoes like you do. So how does it work? Like you carry, it looks like a few different lines of shoes and then you stock them at your house?
Yeah. Yep, that's it. They have, I mean, if you've been on BeLenka's website and they have like two different, they have Bear Barracks and BeLenka, there's so many. Like, there's no way I could ever afford to carry all of those. So I have like, I think there's like 8 maybe on my website.
Okay.
And there's,
Because they do, that's a pretty big website. Can you tell me like what is the difference between BeLenka and Bear Barracks? Because I've been confused about that when I go to their site.
I mean, I think it's just a style. Like, it's more like
Oh.
like cool street shoe. I don't know, funky. That's a Bear Barracks. But,
Can you
and
flex that?
it's a little stiffer. Yeah.
I was going to say that looks like, but somebody who rides a skateboard or like who needs that stability
Yeah. And honestly,
or
like a lot of people who aren't ready to just go straight into this super thin, what that is, or even like, this is one of their, whoop,
oh, that's
one of their
cute
current,
too.
yeah,
Hold it like that so I can see the top. Oh yeah, that's cute.
it is cute, but like paper thin, which is
Yeah.
fine if you're used to that. But if you're not used to that, then like Bear Barracks are good because they have that little bit of cushion in it.
How
It
much?
doesn't
About
feel
like
different.
10 millimeters or like, do you know the stack height? Like how much?
Ooh, I don't
We
know,
can,
but
I'm a stack height nerd. Like, I don't know why right now I'm obsessed with like the difference between like what is the thinnest that I could wear and what's the most, the
yeah,
difference between like super minimalist and then maximalist.
right.
So I'll
Like,
do the research for that and tell people.
okay, I can't wait to find out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I don't have
I
my
got
tape measure with me.
I got your back. So those have the Bear Barracks are typically, all the Bear Barracks have a little more cushion and they're a little more stable. Is that the main difference between BeLenka and Bear Barracks?
I would say so, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
they're more like a sneaker, you know. They have like
Hmm.
I think all of Bear Barracks are sneakers. And they have like high tops too. But like trendy, I would put that word on Bear Barracks.
Okay. So like,
Trendy street sneakers.
can we kind of go through all of your models, just look at them, and then we'll just look at them
Sure.
for like in the way of like the 5Fs or whatever. We'll just like go through you show us the bottom, like the foot shape and then the flexibility primarily.
Mm-hmm.
So what, and maybe the model?
Am I holding? Yeah. This is the Barbarics Kudos.
Okay.
And when I first wore this, yeah, it was way stiffer and it's getting less stiff. This is my second pair of these. So
Okay.
even this is like broken in a little bit. I'll get a bigger one or a newer one. See this?
Oh yeah.
And granted, there's a
So
little bit of paper in there, so it's making it harder, but you could see like that's pretty stiff at first.
more
And
stiff.
it took
Yep.
me a few weeks to break into it.
And so what would you like, what kind of, who would you put that shoe in? Somebody who isn't comfortable transitioning directly to a super barefoot shoe or super
Yeah, like
neutral?
if you don't want to feel the ground, if you're uncomfortable with that and it hurts your foot still, like
Mm-hmm.
I live in a rural area, it's a lot of dirt roads and like rocks everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
people have said to me, like, I don't want to feel the ground. Like that hurts my foot. I can't handle it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so like this is gonna be way more substantial. You're not gonna feel every root underneath your foot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though you want to eventually, but in the beginning
Yeah.
they're hard. So
Yeah. And
that's who
also we might, like, one thing I've been trying to emphasize more is that even if we want to, there are times like in activities when we do or don't want to. So
right.
having like maybe like I'm starting to have more variation in my footwear that I can choose from, because I realized that like I would go on long journeys on foot and I don't own a car. And then at the end of a shopping, I'd go shop for my groceries in a pair of shoes that were way too thin for what I was doing that day because of like my activities the day before. So having just some choices of cushioning, a little extra cushioning, has actually been nice. And that's new for me.
Yeah. Also in colder climates, like around here,
Mm-hmm.
you feel it's cold when you're in something.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel the cold earth. Like I can feel if I'm on ice or snow immediately in this shoe. Versus
Yeah.
like this is like the more updated version. Their soles now are
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so I don't feel anything. Plus it's like fleece lined.
Ooh, that's so nice.
It's very cute
Okay.
too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
take us through some more. What you have in the
Okay.
back there, I see some white ones and yeah,
Oh,
those.
these. This is like an example of a super thin. Damn it.
Oh,
It's
that
really
reminds
big.
me of like the Origo everyday sneaker.
Yeah, I feel like
Like,
every barefoot company has something that looks like this. And
yeah, that's cute.
it is. Yeah. If you're just looking for a standard white shoe, which apparently is like very
The
popular
thing.
these days,
Yeah.
that's
I
that.
have a couple.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my
And also like the bottoms. Most of the
yeah.
BeLenka ones are like this and
And I can
slippery.
start to see like where that looks like, just speculating, but like I'm learning too. But that looks like it'd be good for like one of those slope foot shape, or a more naturally narrow foot, or a mountain shape like Anya Jensen calls them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So she has, so like I don't think my foot, I would like that. Like just looking at that, I feel like I have a square sort of plateau shaped foot, and that looks like it would be too narrow.
Yeah, like cut in
Is that
over here.
true? Mm-hmm.
Probably for this one. Yeah. And I feel like that's like what they used to be, and some of them still are,
Mm-hmm.
versus
Mm-hmm.
this guy.
Yeah.
Am I holding those right?
Yeah, we can see.
Right?
We can see it. Yep.
Yeah.
So the brown colored one is definitely has more of a square, or like an anatomical foot shape where you could
Right.
splay all of your toes.
Yeah.
But the white one, so I used to say like that brown one would be good and the white one would be bad. That's what my brain would think. But now I'm like, well, no, because for me, the brown one would work and the white one wouldn't. But for someone else, like my husband Matthew's foot would do just fine in that white shoe.
Right? Yeah. When people have that like quick drop off and their
Yeah.
toes truly do that, not when they're like this, like curled and hiding,
Right.
but
No, when
like
they
fully
truly
splayed and
like
they
splayed.
still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like for someone, I would say like for that shoe to actually work for you, put your toe spreaders in and that should still be comfortable. Because what I notice with people, so Matthew is my partner and he has a slope mountain shaped foot. And in that other shoe that you showed me, if he put his toe spreaders in, he would feel like it's too big in the toe box. It was too much
Hmm.
room, and it would feel too clunky. Whereas if he
Yeah.
put his toe spreaders on in the correct shoe, his toes would be fully splayed, and that would be comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like my test with everybody is to take out the insert, put on your toe spacers and stand on it and see where your feet at.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing.
This guy, man, everybody loves this boot and I have like one pair left, I think. Super cute. But it has
That
like
is
that
super.
same bottom as this, another like wintry
Hmm.
shoe.
Yep. Why do people like that so much, you think?
I don't
The
know.
zipper?
Well, just looks wise, people have been all
Hmm.
over it.
Hmm.
So
And
that's cool.
also, it seems like people really love the lace and the zipper combined.
Yeah. Yeah. That I love this boot. If like this it's like the newer version of this kind of like
Hmm.
a similar model to this.
Yep.
But man, like you don't feel the cold in this one. And
Oh,
then
that's nice.
it's just so much thicker and it grips where like on ice, I am all over the place on this one.
Oh, wow, I can
See how
see.
slick that is? Yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, I've also worn through it over the years, but
Yep.
this is just gonna like stand up way better than this guy.
Yeah.
Look at
And
those
it
toe
sounds
boxes,
like
so different.
they are very different. And also, it sounds like they're very durable because you're talking about that being worn over the years. So
That's true.
durability, I'm assuming, is good.
Yeah, like as thin as this was, it's still 5 years worth, and it's not breaking down yet. It's just very worn, but it was always just slick on the bottom. So
Hmm.
I'm glad that they made that change.
Yep.
Just note to self that like that's how most of their sneakers still are, that they're pretty
Okay.
slick.
Slick. Yeah, I find that with the Tolos too, that like I can't, they're super clean lines, but the bottom, I find even, and I'm not in ice, I'm in California and Mobile, Alabama. And if it's wet, I mean, I have to be really careful because those are
Yeah,
slippery if they don't have like some kind of good rubber gription. So
right.
even though they're cute and I love them, there's like trade-offs, you know? I got to be careful not to
Yeah.
fall on my arse.
Right. Good job. Yep. This is another favorite boot of mine. This is like my own boot, so excuse the dirt on it.
We love that. I want to see the dirt. I want to see the good stuff.
There's the good stuff. But you can
Wait,
see
is
how
that the
like
kudos? That's not the, wait, what did you say?
no,
What's
this
this
is the
model called?
Ranger boot.
Oh, the Ranger boot. I like that.
That last one, that brown one, this is the Atlas.
Okay.
And
And what are you using this boot for? Like everyday wear, hiking? What are the, I mean, one of the things I love that Nick would always talk about is like people think that shoes have like a specific, we use specific gear. Like my mother-in-law is always looking at my shoes or on the tennis court and they'll ask like, are those actual tennis shoes? Or is that actual shoe for walking? And I loved when Nick would always talk about like how if it's a functional shoe, you can use it for anything, you know, like if it's a natural shoe. Now, granted, like I'm learning about cushion, like I definitely want to have a little more cushion when I'm playing tennis, but it's still a functional shoe. And I wear the shoe that I wear on the tennis court for also hiking and walking and stuff. So, but it is kind of nice to know like what people are using their shoes for,
yeah. Um
especially like
well,
the boots and stuff. Like how protective is that? And
yeah, I wear this like up to the ski valley in the snow all the time. And
nuts.
I don't think I've ever had like an issue where my foot got wet. I think it's only water resistant, it's not waterproof. But it's still like if you're walking in snow and you're not like, going through a river, then your foot's going to stay pretty much dry. And
Nice.
you don't feel the cold in it and it is fleece lined and it even has like an extra little fleece insert in it.
Do you
Um
wear socks with that as well, or do you go barefoot in there?
I do wear socks with this. I haven't worn socks with this cuz it's just so cozy.
Oh,
It's so
wow.
comfortable. And you could
So you
see.
just, yeah. And it
Yeah.
looks like
I
the
love it.
waterproofing that like that rubber comes up on the side. So it looks like if you step in puddles and stuff, it looks like it's
Yeah, it's
on the
pretty
Ranger
thick.
boot.
on this guy.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So how cold does it get where you are in the snow? Because we recently had a community shoe review with Melody H and Elizabeth Crocker, and Elizabeth's in Nova Scotia. So they were actually wearing mucklucks, like
Yeah.
that are pretty wide box but super thick because they're in extreme cold. So I was curious about how, I mean, because you're in New Mexico, it does get really cold there though in the snow, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're at like 7,000 elevation
Mm-hmm.
living, but then up in the mountain, it's like I'm getting out of the car at like 10,000, 9,000, 10,000 elevation. And so it's like full on snow, like snowstorms, and like the mountain will be covered in snow all year. So, yeah, it's pretty damn cold. It will be like anywhere between 10 and 40 degrees on the
Oh my
mountain.
gosh. So that's actually a really good, I mean, a lot of people have been asking about cold weather boots, and I'm thinking that that might be a good option for a lot of people.
Yeah. And both of these are similar lining wise and warmth wise.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like this would be like the more of the two, but for some reason, like they're both really, really warm. Like this is a lot sometimes to wear inside, you know, like to wear for me to wear to work.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm cold all the time, and so it works for me. But for like a lot of people, this would probably be way too warm to just be like hanging out inside working.
Oh, interesting. So
Yeah.
maybe we can switch to, just to be respectful of your time and what we are setting out to do. How about, how would people get in touch with you, and how does sizing work? And then you're only doing this in the United States, is that right? So this is an option for people all around the US, or
Yeah.
how
US
does it
and
work?
Canada, I can ship to.
Okay,
And that is the
US.
benefit. That's the other reason why I decided to work with them is because it's hard to get shoes that aren't $5,000. I mean, they're
So true.
expensive anyway, but then you add like shipping from Europe and you're like $30 to $50 of shipping just to get over here, you know. So
Yeah.
I can like place these wholesale orders and I what was I gonna say? I do a lot of like custom orders for people. Like I don't carry this shoe. I don't carry this shoe. I should probably stop talking about it. It's my own shoe. I can order them for people though. Like this one, my boss actually ordered these. They didn't fit her, and now I'm stuck with them. I'm trying to like resell them for her. But that's just
Uh-huh.
an example of like I can do custom orders for people in the US where it's not gonna be an arm and a leg. Um, and then it works out like I just did like a whole order of like 7 shoes all custom, and they're just like all different styles that I don't carry typically.
Oh, that is so cool. So
Yeah.
essentially, could people go then to the BeLenka website, pick their shoe and their size, and then contact you? Is that how it would work?
Yeah. Yeah, I do that a lot with people. I just send them and I tell people to print out the actual sizing that BeLenka has, where you put your foot on the thing, you put it up against the wall, and you have your credit card, you make sure that you printed it the right way so the sizing is all accurate. And if you have that, then like you're probably going to be fine with
Mm-hmm.
whatever size you end up getting, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
when people don't take the time to figure that out, then like the sizing is, you never know, like from shoe to
Yeah,
shoe, like between models, it always changes, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah. So take the time to do the sizing, the printable sizing chart from their
Yep.
site,
Yeah, I
and
have it on
then
my site too.
and it's on your site too. So what we'll do is we'll connect people to you through pointbodyfix.com. I'll put
PT
that
Body Fix. Yep.
PT Body Fix, PT Point, PT
Try.
Body Fix, ptbodyfix.com, and then you have 8 models that you carry directly on your site. But if they have something that they want from them specifically that's not on your site, you can custom order it.
Yeah, including sizing
Okay.
too, you know,
Okay.
because I'm not
And then if they
constantly creating orders
okay.
for myself to carry.
Okay. Anything else you want to tell them about or that I've forgotten to ask you?
I don't think so. I think we covered it all.
I think we did too.
Yeah. And
So,
especially if people already know their BeLenka size, like they've worn them before. Once you
uh-huh.
know it, then like you're good with your size, and it's so easy to do custom orders that way. I do them for like friends and family all the time.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I've never tried a BeLenka shoe, so I guess I'm going to have to check it out.
Oh,
I do need to
definitely.
try them. Yeah. And so I think that's it. The other thing we wanted to say to you, if you're still listening, is that Katie and I will host these from time to time, and we also encourage you to bring your questions about natural shoes that you have, about sizing, and also just about feet and feet health and hip health and health in general. And we can, if we don't have the answer to your question, we can point you in the right direction and we can help you. So one of the things that I've noticed in our Kajabi community is that we can't all, there's like little, there's like fractures in putting people together. So I think if we have like from time to time a question and answer session that's general outside of our fireside chat and our explorer chat that we do once a month, people can come with their general questions and then we can either help answer, point people in the right direction, and then at least we kind of get an idea of what you're all dealing with.
Right. Totally. Love the idea.
Okay. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us, and we will catch up with you soon. Ciao for now.